Listen, ladies, I know you all love reality TV, the mess, the drama, the chaos, what seems like excitement from watching it all. But listen, it's destroying the way that you're thinking and the way that you're moving. Come with me. Let's lock in so I can break this thing down. But first, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's get it. Check out purposelyhere.com where you will find my self-published book. Purposelyhere.com also has exclusive merchandise for men, women, and kids. Purposelyhere.com is also available on your mobile devices. Stay tuned and enjoy the video. Women, if real life keeps falling short of your expectations, there's a reason for that. And it may not be life that's the problem. A lot of what many women believe about relationships, success, and even themselves wasn't learned through real experience. It was absorbed through what they watched, through entertainment, through media, through carefully produced dysfunction labeled as reality. And over time, what was meant to entertain quietly became a reference point. Proverbs 14:15 says, "The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going." So before anything can change, we have to look closely at what's actually shaping perception, because once that's clear, everything else starts to make sense. Because what's being consumed isn't reality, it's production. Reality TV is presented as real people, real emotions, real situations. But in truth, it's edited, manipulated, and driven by ratings. People are selected because they are reactive, impulsive, and willing to perform. Stability doesn't trend. Peace doesn't sell. Conflict is encouraged. Escalation is rewarded. And calm, grounded behavior is ignored. Galatians 5:22-23 reminds us that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, and temperance. Those things may not generate views, but they are the actual indicators of strength. And the more this is consumed, the less the mind separates what is staged from what is standard. So what is repeated begins to feel familiar, and what feels familiar begins to feel normal. And once something feels normal, it no longer raises concern. That's how dysfunction settles in without being questioned. Reality TV teaches that yelling is communication, disrespect is honesty, jealousy is love, and chaos is passion. Emotional outbursts are framed as empowerment. Restraint is framed as weakness. So over time, women begin to expect relationships to feel intense, loud, and emotionally unstable. But 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, "For the Most High is not the author of confusion, but of peace," which means what's being normalized is not strength. It is disorder. And once disorder is accepted, it doesn't just stay tolerated. It becomes celebrated. Because now chaos is no longer just common, it's rewarded. Moments of conflict are clipped, replayed, and praised. She ate. That's power. She stood on business. But that's not strength. That's lack of control. A quick reminder, if by now you have not liked, shared, and subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and do so. Let's get back to it. Chaos excites because it triggers adrenaline. It creates stimulation without consequence for the viewer. But the one performing it pays in dignity, reputation, and emotional stability. Proverbs 16:32 says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty." So what's being applauded publicly is actually weakness privately. And while that behavior is being elevated, something else is being shaped at the same time. Desire. Because it's not just actions being influenced, it's standards. Reality TV pairs dysfunction with luxury. Bodies, money, designer labels, and lifestyles are all presented as proof of success. Women are not only seen being chaotic, they are seen being rewarded while doing it. But what's hidden is the cost behind the image, the debt, the maintenance, the instability, the insecurity. 1 Timothy 6:6-8 says, godliness with contentment is great gain. So while the image looks elevated, the foundation is often unstable. And over time, this doesn't just shape what women admire, it begins to shape how they measure themselves. Because now comparison enters the picture. Women began chasing appearance over substance, performance over character, believing that if they look a certain way, they're powerful. If they have certain things, they've arrived. So real life starts to feel insufficient, not because it is, but because it's being measured against illusion. Psalms 119:37 says, turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, because what's being pursued is not reality, it's presentation. And when presentation becomes the standard, something shifts internally. A woman conditioned by chaos doesn't recognize peace as valuable. Calm feels unfamiliar. Consistency feels underwhelming. Stability feels empty instead of secure. So problems get created where none exists. Situations get tested unnecessarily. Conversations get escalated without cause, not out of intention to destroy, but because intensity has been mistaken for meaning. But Isaiah 26:3 says, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. Peace is not emptiness. It is alignment. And without that alignment, perception becomes distorted. And this is where the real issue reveals itself and how things are interpreted. Delusion isn't stupidity, it's distortion. It's when false patterns feel true because they've been repeated enough. So dramatic love feels real. Loud behavior feels strong. Visible success feels valid. And anything quiet, stable, or consistent gets overlooked. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing, because discernment is what separates what looks right from what actually is right. And without it, a person will keep choosing illusion over reality. And this is where everything comes together, because this was never just about reality. It's about influence. It's about perception. It's about what you allow to shape your understanding. Reality TV is a performance, not a blueprint. It profits from chaos. It elevates dysfunction. It packages illusion as success. But real life doesn't reward performance. It rewards discipline, emotional control, character, consistency, peace. Philippians 4:8 says, to think on what is true, honest, just, pure, and of good report. So stop applauding what destroys you. Stop comparing your real life to someone else's performance. Stop chasing images that come with hidden costs. Choose reality. Choose clarity. Choose growth. Because the strongest woman in the room is not the loudest, not the flashiest, and not the most watched. She's the most grounded, the most clear, and the most at peace. All right, you all, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And once again, do not forget to check out my website, purposelyhere.com, where you can find my self-published books. And as always, you all stay safe and